A super Saturday of football drawing to a close here in round 13, not far from the banks of the Georges River. We're here at Penshurst Park to wrap up your Saturday evening. It is St George City playing host to Sydney FC Academy. Pete Pryor with you this evening. An absolute pleasure to have your company, as it always is, wherever it is in the world you may be tuning in from. Both sides coming into this one looking for a win for different reasons. Sydney looking to really mount a bit of a push towards finals. St George City looking to create a bit of separation between they and Sydney Olympic, who are currently rooted to the bottom of the table. The lineups are in. A bit of team news to get through for both Miko Jurelic and Jimmy Van Weeren's side. Of course, for the host this evening, St George City, Franklin Jan comes in to replace Jack Kenny between the sticks. At number 2, of course, is Matthew Warby. 3, Ben Berry. 4, Solomon John Monahan Vaika. 7, Oscar Gultekin. 11, Jesse Forti. 16, Jon Pedersen. 17, Mason Tafu. 25, Brody Clarkson. 27, Matthew Jackson. And 44, Hugo McAteer. Very famous surname indeed. And if that rings any bells to you, we'll come back to that with a bit of an explainer in due course. For Jim Van Weeren's young Sydney FC Academy side, 2 changes to the side, which drew 0-0 with Sutherland last weekend. Out drop Samuel Lancaster and Zach DeJesus. In come Tay Headley and Joe Lacey. Their full starting 11 as follows. Number 30, Alex Zavadinos, making his second start of the season. The 3, Reef Farias. 10, Tay Headley. 14, Jared Middleton. 18, Ethan Dyer. 19, and captain Mitch Glasson. 26, Nick Alfaro. 27, Lockie Middleton. 29, Joe Lacey. 33, Marin France. And 47, Corey Cronin. Well, we're through the formalities and the opening proceedings. We're underway here. Of course, Eric Saba signalling time on, with St George kicking from right to left on your screen and immediately sweeping it out to this near touch line. Hooked in right on top of Zavadinos. It was Jackson's delivery that drew the young Gloveman out. Comfortably able to pluck it out of the evening sky. Lead tester here for Franklin Jan, the former MacArthur Bulls goalkeeper, of course. Regulation stuff, really, for the young Gloveman. As we said, neither side able to taste victory in their encounters last week. Sydney FC managing to take a point at least off Sutherland in that 0-0 draw. There's further disappointment for St George City, going down by a solitary goal at the hands of Rockdale. It's not all doom and gloom at Penshurst Park, though, of course. They were victorious, and how, in the Cup. Strong, commanding 5-1 victory against Camden Tigers on Wednesday night. So a much shorter turnaround for them between matches than for their counterparts. But they are perhaps starting the brighter here. Wilson wide for Forti. Supporting is Jackson. Ball speed is good here. Clarkson helps it on. Ben Berry play it out to the wide area, I should say. Ben Berry will have it back. We said it's a super Saturday for football, of course, not just across the NPL first grade competition, but also here at Penshurst Park. They had their League One boys in action in the Youth League earlier this afternoon, hosting the Central Coast Mariners. I know in the under-16s they were victorious by 2-1. In the under-18s, I should say, they were victorious by 4-1. The earlier under-20s encounter finished 2 apiece between St George and Sydney FC. Their focus firmly here on the first grade. Flag is up against Glasson. Pulled the trigger and dragged it wide in any case. Gultigan scrapping in the middle of the park to win it back for his side. Monaghan Viker now striding forward. Looking for the return pass as well, which won't arrive to Monaghan Viker. He will eventually win it on the edge of the area, but the flag is up. Free kick awarded to Sydney FC for the infringement. Jackson. Back it goes to Tafu. One of the goal scorers during the week in that cup victory, as we said, over Camden Tigers. Sydney FC pressing effectively through Marin France. St George City it is who win the throw, though. Franklin Jan. Just his third start of the season for St George City, and this might bounce fortuitously for Jesse Foti. It does indeed, you know, looking for the little return pass, seeking out the run of Jon Pedersen. It's quick Pedersen, but not quite quick enough to latch onto that one. Striking from the edge of the area. Franklin Jan at full stretch just about. I'm not sure whether he would have had it covered had it been struck with a little more accuracy, but very nearly first blood to Sydney FC, and that's how quickly they can make things happen. Chance was created by Lockie Middleton, often so talismanic in and around the area. Hoisted back in by Jackson. Flicked around the corner by Pedersen. Can't quite connect with Gultekin though, and now Sydney FC look to transition rapidly. Through ball giving Glasson something to chase from Alfaro, but didn't have the direction required. Franklin Jan looking to launch it back up towards halfway, nodded down by Monaghan Viker. Picked up comfortably though in the centre of the park by Farias, and it's just a little bit scrappy out there in the middle of the park. Sydney FC emerge free and clear with it, with Alfaro, who will sweep it out to the far touchline. Wabi has some defending to do. Sydney FC look to recycle possession. Dinked in towards the head of Glasson again as is, but Franklin Jan, that's regulation stuff for the young gloveman. Clipped in again towards Glasson, who's really threatening, menacing, as he looked to strike the snapshots. Spectacular when they come off, of course, but that one blazed over. In fact, apologies, it wasn't Glasson, it was Lockie Middleton. It was Glasson who actually clipped the ball over for Lockie Middleton there. Not far away, getting a second look at the replay there. If there's one thing that history has told us about this fixture, it's that we are to expect goals in any case. 4.5 goals per game on average across the last 6 meetings. In fact, the only 6 meetings between these two sides. Never been a meeting between these two sides with fewer than 3 goals. Deadlock yet to be broken though. Sydney FC perhaps have had the better of the chances in the opening 9.5 minutes. They'll get a chance to perhaps deliver something into the area once again. Big Timber coming forwards. Reef Farias inserting himself into the fray. Everyone behind the ball defending this for City. Corey Cronin, the left-footed option, standing over this one. In fact, he may just look to curl it in between the penalty spot and the edge of the 6-yard box. In fact, it's not. It's delivered right on top of Franklin Jan by Tay Headley. It's all too deep from the Sydney FC number 10. Gultikin, head on a swivel, always scanning. Opts to just play square to Jackson. Raking crossfield ball it is from Clarkson. They can't make any further inroads though on the far touchline. Monahan Viker will try and pinch it back centrally. It's been a little bit cagey, a little bit tentative in the opening 11 or so minutes from the hosts. Sydney FC again look to fire one forwards. Repelled initially before the strike will come from Alfaro! Flashing just wide. Effort from Nicholas Alfaro, the 18-year-old. He's capable from that sort of range, as we saw in round 1 as well. Scoring from a very similar sort of area. In fact, even a little bit further out. What proved to be the winner in that 3-2 victory over Southern District Raiders. Just 30 seconds after coming off the bench too, mind you. As it stands, that remains his only goal contribution, or his only goal, I should say, of the season. But Sydney FC again on the march forwards. Repelled effectively initially by Walby, and the clearance completed only as far as halfway. City hemmed inside their own half at the moment. France looking to skip inside. Overlapping is Alfaro, who's been busy so far in this opening 10 minutes. Monahan Viker emerges free and clear with it. It's a heavy touch from Monahan Viker. Difficult to control the sort of bouncing ball at that sort of speed as well. Sydney FC effect the clearance, and it's really just a matter of just about anywhere will do. Jared Middleton it was who just pumped it into touch on the far touch line. Tatafu. No options available forward. That press from Alfaro was effective enough to deter the City centre half. Into the channel it goes again. It's Alfaro. It's been so lively this evening. Watched all the way into touch, though. It will go to Tafu, just shepherding it over the byline. Jackson. Wilton was the wall pass. Jackson just opts to go back to Tafu, and across the back it will go for Berry. Clarkson, Berry again exchanging passes. Jackson trying to turn it around the corner. Marin France stole in, and then Alfaro looked to steal a march onto Tafu. Tafu composed as ever, recovers it well. Don't forget, of course, Female Football Week coming up very shortly indeed, running from the 8th of May to the 17th, a nationwide celebration of the incredible growth of women's football at all levels of the game. France looks to weave inside of a couple of challenges, and a peep on the whistle from Eric Saba. France had his legs taken away from him, and Sydney FC with another set-piece opportunity. This one a little closer in than the last. Perhaps still a little too far away for Cronin or Headley to think about the direct route to goal. Nothing would surprise me, though. Headley this time walks away and leaves it. It will be Cronin to deliver. One arm in the air. Runners coming in towards the back stick. The flag is up. Fancy it was Glassett was trying to get a look at the replay on the monitor there, who rose highest. Clarkson nearly got it caught under his feet for a moment there, and Tafu's turned it over ever so cheaply. France looks to turn it round the corner. He in turn turns it over rather cheaply. Press from Sydney FC again, relentless, ferocious. City able to clear their lines, but unable to keep it in play. Pedersen couldn't quite reel it in. As we said, plenty of action across the state's top flight for your Saturday afternoon. It all kicked off at 2 o'clock with University of New South Wales snatching a 2-2 draw against Blacktown City. Monahan Viker turns it round the corner to great effect. McAteer just left it behind. Of course, earlier this afternoon as well, Sutherland hosting Marconi. They led at half-time by 2-1. Marconi running away with it 4-2 in the end. Over the top it goes to Tafu. Jackson now. Berry turned around the corner again from Monahan Vaika. McAteer looks to return the favour, but just a little too much on the pass, not measured correctly. Elsewhere this afternoon, SD Raiders going down by 3-2 against Apia. They also led at half-time, but Apia with the chocolates. Spirit FC with a 2-1 victory over Manly United. It's half-time just up the road at Barton Park between St George FC and the Wanderers. Wanderers leading by 3-0. Just underway here, as we said, It's the 18th minute. Goalless at Penshurst so far. If there's one thing that we expect, well and surely, between these two sides, it's goals. We said average of 4.5 per game between these two sides across the 6 meetings. When they last met at this venue, in fact, it was a commanding performance from St George City. 5-0 that one finished back in February of last year. Warby, it is making advances. Some good inroads being made here by Matthew Warby. Now McAteer just paused for a moment to try and measure the delivery, but it's straight behind in the end. In fact, it's taken a good chunk of a Sydney FC player's leg on the way through. So it will be a corner, first of the evening for the hosts. Sights at goal so far have been somewhat limited, a little rarer than they would have liked. Jackson across to deliver. That's a wicked teasing sort of delivery, but it's repelled from the edge of the 6-yard box. And that's a clattering challenge. Advantage played by Eric Saba now in Sydney FC through Tay Headley. Look to go straight up the other end. Headley pauses for a moment. And the referee, I fancy he may have pointed to the spot here. And a red card it will be as well for Ben Berry. Well, Eric Saba paused for just a moment to consider his decision. It was a big one to make. Tay Headley bearing down on goal, and I fancy because the contact was just outside the area, Eric Saba has deemed denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Ben Berry pleads his innocence, but he will have to make his way from the pitch. And just like that, this game may have just turned on its head. Well, Sydney FC, of course, have the resulting free kick. It's just right on the cusp, right on the edge of the 18-yard box. There'll be no shortage of suitors looking to strike, I should say. Headley is one of those. He may be the favourite to take the free kick that he just won. Franklin Jan will have to ensure that his wall is set just so. It's pretty close in, tough to get the up and down and the whip and the dip from that sort of range. Will it be Headley straight into the wall, doing its job? Well, no concern for self-preservation from that 5-man wall there as well. Corner the result for Sydney FC. Swept in again to the edge of the 6-yard box. Alfaro was rising but couldn't. In fact, it wasn't Alfaro. In any case, linesperson's flag on this near touchline, halting any potential further advance. Fancy the ball may have gone out of play before it even reached the 6-yard box. Well, a chaotic couple of minutes here at Penshurst Park. St George nearly finding a breakthrough from the corner. Sydney FC going straight up the other end. Ben Berry deemed to have committed a red card offence as it swept in towards the penalty spot again for Sydney FC. Swivelling is Headley, striking is Headley, and clearing the goals is Tay Headley. St George's insistence on playing their way out from the back, seemingly it's just about any cost, may have just cost them as they've turned it over again. Lacey it was this time, looking to deliver into the channel, but not getting his measurements correct at all. Yeah, and this time, no interest in playing out from the back. McAteer tries to turn. He's not found it easy going so far. Hugo McAteer, Sydney FC, again looking to slice through the heart of that City defence. Monahan Viker with a very good recovering challenge indeed. He'll have the ball back as well. Solomon John, Monahan Viker, fizzed in at the feet of his striking counterpart there and trying to link up with McAteer on the far touchline. They'll have the free kick though instead, St George, and they'll certainly appreciate that. It's one that kind of relieves the pressure valve a little bit. They've had to withstand wave after wave of attack, and now they look to mount one of their own. Jackson. Forced back to halfway with Tatafu. To try and stretch the pitch now. Warby. Gultigan. Fizzed into the feet of Foti. It's a good recovering challenge from Pedersen. City now with a chance to just get their foot on the ball and string a few passes together and try and settle into some sort of rhythm. Jackson inside. Foti it was with the channel run. Spotted all the way by that Sydney FC defence. Sydney FC this time looking to play their way out from the back. Farias. Thought about going to this near touch line for Marin France. Instead, just opts to keep Sydney in possession, play the high percentage pass. Might work out in a very good way for them, as well as they're absolutely scything through this St George defence. Sydney FC howling for a penalty, waved away emphatically by Eric Saba. And now St George look to counter-punch immediately. Jesse Foti holds it up and awaits support, which does arrive. And again, St George opting to keep their foot on the ball. Jackson, Clarkson, Berry. In fact, that's Monahan Viker, my apologies. Bit of a cheap turnover again from St George City. Jon Pedersen unable to stick the pass, and once again Sydney FC absolutely rampant. A breakneck transition once again from Sydney FC after Pedersen unable to stick his pass in the middle of the field. And just like that, Sydney a goal to the good. Marin France heavily involved in the build-up. Receives a return pass, bears down on goal, and slots it beyond Franklin Jan. You always felt it was going to be an uphill battle for City after the earlier red card to Ben Berry just about 7 minutes ago. That uphill battle has turned into absolute slog now. Player down, a goal down. And Sydney FC again on the march forward. Alfaro. It's audacious from that sort of range, but as we said, he is certainly capable of the spectacular. Here he is again, Nicholas Alfaro. This time measuring the cross, and again not measuring it correctly. It's all too deep for the head of Glasson, who will do a job to chase it down and retrieve it. just about everyone behind the ball here for City. Bit of a slice clearance from Jackson. Monahan Viker it is who steps forward to put his head into the situation. Lacey operating as that real sort of quarterback there. Marin France, Lacey continued his run forward. France opts not to use him. A square, Farias, Alfaro. Playing with a real sense of purpose and confidence is this young Sydney FC side. Jared Middleton and then Alfaro. And Lacey, or Middleton, my apologies. Flipped into the channel. St George appealing for an offside flag, which does eventually come. Alfaro will strike again from the edge of the area, but dragged well wide in the end. Well, as we said, of course, Female Football Week running from May 8th to the 17th. Celebrating the incredible growth of women's football at all levels of the game. All about recognising, of course, the vital role that women play in developing football and encouraging even more participation across the country. Make sure that you head across to footballnewsouthwales.com.au for more information on how to get involved there. Pedersen giving chase, keeping Farias honest. Farias calm as ever. Such a composed figure at the heart of that Sydney FC defence. Started all 12 or 13 now so far this season. Chipped in with a couple of important goals as well. Scored, of course, the very first goal of the 2026 NPL men's season. As Headley now looks to add one to his tally for the season. Supporting is Glasson, and now Headley again, spinning, twisting, turning, Headley striking, blocked off. Middleton helps it on to Alfaro. Strike will come from a long way out from... I fancy that was Joe Lacey, was it? It was indeed. But they're not afraid to chance their arm from range, this young Sydney FC side. It hasn't been super effective so far in this encounter. It's France. Plays it straight to the feet of Gultekin. The bouncing ball difficult to control once again. Monahan Viker. The physical contest, and the whistle does go. Glasson all over the back of Solomon John Monahan Viker. Clipped forward by Jan to the head of Gultekin. McAteer. Immediately swarmed by a couple of sky blue jerseys. Hugo McAteer. As we said, the McAteer name, a very famous one in footballing circles. Nephew of former Republic of Ireland and Liverpool legend Jason McAteer, of course. Bit of confusion in their attempts to play out from the back for St George City. Straight into touch, cheaply so as well, and Sydney FC now with a chance to try and work their combinations again. Middleton goes central for the feet of Glasson. Now striding forward from the heart of defence is Middleton. Glasson. Middleton with the strike again. It's a very good feet first save from Franklin Jan. The strike came at him ever so quickly. It's a save he should be making in fairness, but certainly one that he had to make. McAteer. Going forward immediately for Pedersen. Oh, and it's just run under the foot of the City player there. And the strike again from a long way out. He struck with a real sort of purity, drawing a smart diving save out of Franklin Jan. That's two decent stops that Jan has had to make inside the last 2 or 3 minutes. Mitch Glasson with the latest effort from about 25 yards. Now St George City with a chance to move forward. Fotti's just left it behind the supporting run of Jackson, who does well to double back and retrieve it. And Jackson looking to invert. Has support from Clarkson. To Tafu. Now, all St George City players camped inside Sydney FC's half. Looking to work an angle for the cross here are City. Fotty was lurking with real dangerous sort of intent there. Zavadinos does well to get 2 fists to it. Into touch it goes, so St George City will retain it by way of throw-in. Fancy it's going to come long, it does. Repelled initially only as far as Jackson, who has Alfaro initially for company, able to retain it. Good strength from the City fullback. Warby helps it wide. Back with Monahan Vaika. Tatafu. We'll go back and reset here. City. Tatafu tries to clip it wide. Sydney FC picking that one off. This is a bit of a puzzle to figure out here for Franklin Jan as well. Again, that bouncing ball sort of skidding off the synthetic here at Penshurst. Extremely awkward height and the real amount of zip to it as well before it got to the goalkeeper. Forced to just slice his clearance all the way behind for a corner. With Sydney take quickly and strike to devastating effect. From seemingly out of nothing, Sydney FC double their advantage here at Penshurst. Well, we said Sydney FC have been chancing their arm from a long way out. Time and time again, and this time they finally hit the target. Joe Lacey it is. Back in the starting 11. And back on the score sheet for Sydney FC. What a way to reintroduce yourself to the starting 11 as well from Joe Lacey. Franklin Jan just about at full stretch, but nothing he could do about the purity of the strike. That second goal will be just what the doctor ordered for Sydney FC after having to endure a bit of a difficult spell. St George City were finally starting to make some inroads towards Sydney FC's goal, but again, Sydney FC in transition have hit quickly. City would have felt so encouraged by the chances that they were creating as well up until that point, in spite of the fact they were reduced to 10 men after 20 minutes. Of course, a red card to Ben Berry. forced a bit of a tactical rethink and reshuffle for the hosts. About 7 or so minutes to go until the interval. Sydney have really well and truly taken control of this contest. St George City entered the fixture this evening in a fairly precarious sort of position, sitting just 3 points clear of Sydney Olympic in 15th spot. They would have been hoping to create a bit more separation between they and last placed Olympic. With Olympic in action tomorrow, they could go level on points. I'm sure it's not quite panic stations yet at Penshurst. But there will certainly just about be some serious conversations had. They started their life in the state's top flight in such a bright manner, of course, following their League One championship in 2022. 2 consecutive finals appearances in 23 and 24. They didn't quite have it all their way last year, though, finishing 9th. They'll be desperate to preserve their status, to remain in the state's top flight. Still a lot of football to be played, of course. We're not even halfway through the regular season yet. Into the channel it goes for Gultekin, who is pulled down, and Eric Saba will have a decision to make here. The colour of the card is just yellow for Reef Farias. I'll tell you what, it was certainly a very threatening sort of situation indeed. St George City themselves this time showing how rapid they can be in transition. Gultekin, I'll tell you what, if Farias doesn't drag him down there, he's probably clear through on goal. There was a covering defender coming across, it looked like. Joe Lacey was there or thereabouts, as was Jared Middleton. Oscar Gultekin, of course, is lethal in front of goal. He backed himself a brace in that midweek cup victory over Camden Tigers on Wednesday. He's been around, of course, Gultekin, former Rockdale, former Hakoah, former Sydney FC as well. One of many new signings for this St George City outfit, and he's earned his side a free kick in a tantalising sort of position as Jackson clips it in. It's all too close to Zavadinos. The groans and murmurs of discontent around Penshurst Park are becoming more and more audible. Again, as Sydney FC might have a chance to add a third on the stroke of half-time. Well, it's not for want of trying, but for a very good piece of defending from Hugo McAteer, not shirking his defensive duties, and then in turn turns it over very cheaply in a very threatening position. Franklin Jan forced into another diving save. This one was very close to the goalkeeper, and again a save that he really should be making, but again a save that he absolutely had to make. Pass meeting the run here of Matthew Jackson. Again, steps over and looks to invert and delivers to Pedersen, who rattles the crossbar with a thumping header. They're getting closer and closer. They are yet to breach Alex Zavadinos' goal, and once again Sydney FC look to go straight up the other end. Jackson it is with an emphatic sort of clearance. I've just had a look at the replay on the monitor here and just looked up to check, and I'm pretty sure the woodwork is still rattling at the other end of the ground. Real towering, thumping header from Pedersen. And Sissy just a matter of millimetres away from halving the deficit. Alfaro spinning, looking to spray it wide. Well, it's not his finest pass there, Nicholas Alfaro. He is richly talented, the 18-year-old midfielder. As we said, scored in the opening round of the season in that 3-2 victory over Southern District Raiders. What proved to ultimately be the match winner. He's come close a couple of times tonight too. We spoke about, of course, the last time these two sides met at Penshurst Park in February last year, that 5-0 victory, resounding, commanding victory from a 5-star Sissy outfit that evening. I'll tell you what, Sydney FC don't have a bad record at this venue outside of that. They've won 2 out of their previous 3 encounters. They're looking to try and make it 3 out of 4. Here tonight. They are 2 goals to the good as it stands, and this might be a chance to put on a third, but for the linesperson's flag on this near touchline. It's Jackson assessing the options ahead of him, one of whom was Pedersen. Jared Middleton it was who got his head to it first, though. Well stepped in initially by Warby, but just let it get away from him. It's all a little bit frantic in parts here. Jackson looking to try and assert some control on it now. That will be that for the opening stanza here at Penshurst Park. St George City have got it all to do in the second half. It's finished at half-time, at least anyway. St George City 0, Sydney FC 2. Marin France opened the scoring before Joe Lacey added a second. St George City, of course, were reduced to 10 men following the red card to Ben Berry after just 20 minutes. That's the tale of the tape. St George City haven't been without their chances. Jon Pedersen coming as close as anyone can come without scoring a goal, rattling the woodwork towards the tail end of the first half. We'll go to the sheds. St George 0, Sydney 2. We're off for a short break here at Penshurst, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back for the second half in about 15 minutes' time. Well, a very warm welcome indeed back to Penshurst Park here in the southern suburbs of Sydney. The final match of round 13 for your Saturday night anyway. St George City hosting Sydney FC, who currently lead their hosts by 2-0 at the interval. A red card to Ben Berry, City's centre half, after just 20 minutes. Left City with it all to do. Sydney just heaped the misery on them from there. Marin France opening the scoring before Joe Lacey with a sumptuous strike, adding to his ever-growing highlight reel, doing the damage on the scoreboard. City's best moment of the opening stanza came from the head of Jon Pedersen, who rattled the crossbar of Alex Zavadinos. That one, in fact, the only strike that City have had towards goal in the first half. 45 minutes of action to round out your Saturday evening in the state's top flight. St George City to resume hostilities. Kicking from left to right, a peep on the whistle from Eric Saber, and off we go. City looking long immediately for Warby, who will win the throw. Warby looking to work the levers to hoist it back into play. Nodded straight back to Alex Zavadinos. Lockie Middleton will help it on. Farias now. He picked himself up a booking as well in the first half. Reef Farias for dragging back what looked like a very promising venture forward for Gultekin. Like any changes at the interval from either side. Both sides to commence as they were, albeit for City, the departure of Ben Berry, forced by referee Eric Saber, deemed to have denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity as Tay Headley bear down on goal. Challenge there from Marin France has done a bit of damage on Matthew Jackson, who's back to his feet now. Good news for St George City. I wouldn't want a second enforced departure across that back line. That's a gorgeous looking ball over the top for Corey Cronin. Difficult one to control. Sort of held up a little bit on the synthetic surface, which is perhaps a little bit unusual. You expect to sort of see those skid on, and I fancy Cronin may have expected the same. We'll have a corner for his efforts though, despite the protests of these City defenders. Getting a look at the replay, it does look like the final touch was in fact off Matthew Warby of St George City. The corner will be swung in towards the near post and repelled immediately back from whence it came. Behind for another corner. It's a set piece where Sydney did the damage for their second goal. This one will be driven towards the edge of the area, an audacious sort of strike. First time effort there. Clipped in towards the penalty spots. Half-hearted shouts for handball. The ball is fizzed in and fizzed home. A tap in inside the 6-yard box in Sydney. Within 3 minutes of the restart are 3 goals to the good. Mitch Glasson with a captain's knock for Sydney FC.
Got Sydney FC number 19, captain Mitchell Glasson. St George City nil, Sydney FC 3.
Goal number 7 of the season from 12 starts for Mitch Glasson. Perhaps kicking off his birthday celebrations early. Of course, turns 20 this coming Monday. Early present, really gifted to him there. We did say, of course, that we expect goals in this fixture. We perhaps didn't expect just how one-sided it has really ended up being. Of course, as we said, St George City reduced to 10, which really set the tone for their evening here at Penshurst. Found it very tough going indeed. Take nothing away from Sydney FC, who have been rampant this evening. Wave after wave after wave of attack. Looks like we might have had a change at half-time. In fact, we'll bring you an update on that shortly. It looks like Tarek Ercan has entered the fray. Bit of a tactical switch, perhaps. Solomon John Monaghan-Viker perhaps now operating a little bit deeper at the heart of defence. Alongside Mason Tatafu. Franklin Jan just slicing his clearance somewhat, and Sydney once again looking to get forward. Cronin was providing support. Headley looking for the return pass as well. Tay Headley. Return pass which never arrived. Joe Lacey just not getting the measurement right on that one. Faulty there, keeping Reece Farias honest. Farias emphatically clearing that into touch just ahead of our broadcast position here at Penshurst. Play will be halted for the time being. Sydney FC player down in back play just on halfway. Don't forget, of course, Female Football Week is just around the corner, running from the 8th of May through to the 17th. A nationwide initiative celebrating the rapid growth of women's football and recognising the huge contribution that women make to the game at every level. Across New South Wales, of course, Football New South Wales, along with the local associations and clubs, will be hosting a range of activities, including female football rounds, come and try sessions and free skills clinics, all aimed at getting more girls and women involved in the game. For more information on how you can get involved, make sure that you head across to footballnewsouthwales.com.au. Joe Lacey has departed to get some running repairs, so both teams now, for the time being at least, down to 10. Monaghan-Viker driven into the channel. Difficult swirling sort of ball there. Reece Farias does well enough to nod it into touch. It's going to be a long throw coming here from Matthew Warby. Flat bullet-like sort of delivery as well. Repelled as far as Monaghan-Viker, who hoists it back up into the night sky. Zavadinos spilled, but the flag was up. George putting all sorts of pressure on the young Sydney Gloveman. But Sydney it is on the march forward. Again, half-hearted appeals from the Sky Blue. Waved away by Eric Saba. Viker has Warby on this near touch line and uses him, looking to stretch the pitch. Warby thought about inverting. Ochan helped it on to Clarkson, who couldn't retain it initially. They'll find a way through here. Gultekin will strike! Snapshot from the edge of the area from Oscar Gultekin. Drawing the save out of Alex Zavadinos. Took 2 bites of the cherry to claim it. The young Gloveman measured equal to it in the end. Tarek Erchan, in his tenacity to try and win the ball back just inside his own half, has given away the free kick. Sydney FC just keen to get on with things here. Lacey again, it's a teasing delivery and it's a fantastic finish, but for the flag on the far touchline. Again, that's all about the delivery there from Joe Lacey. He was such a wonderful technician. Sydney thought they were 4 to the goods. I'll tell you what, it's a tight decision. St George breathe a sigh of relief. Gultekin trying to get more involved, assert some more influence on the game, but it's Headley now for Sydney FC. Jared Middleton and then Alfaro. Again, giving Corey Cronin something to chase. Warby equal to it. It's well kept in play as well by St George City and Monaghan Viker. They can't keep their foot on the ball. Lockie Middleton now. Cronin. Jared Middleton will help it on. Sweats wide towards Cronin, who will pull it into the area. Half cleared as far as Alfaro, who will strike. Blocked off by Monaghan Viker. Sydney FC looking to really turn the screws here. Should be a comfortable claim for Franklin Jan, and is. Plucks us out of the night sky here at Penshurst Park. St George defenders all backing off here. And again, it's a very good save from Franklin Jan. It's feet first once more. Again, it's a save he should be making, but another one that he really had to make. They can be awkward, especially when they arrive that quickly. St George now immediately looking to go up the other end through 40. His advance is swiftly halted. Cronin. Tay Headley now. He's one who would also love to get in on the scoring action tonight, Tay Headley, but Sydney have turned it over quite cheaply, and now red jerseys making their way forward. Jackson hasn't taken off his toe. Sydney, again, so rapid in transition, so fluid as well. 3-on-3 if they're quick enough here. They are quick enough indeed. Franklin Jan beats it again. And Sydney FC are 4 to the good.
Goal to Sydney FC, number 33, Martin France.
Marin France again, adding a second in just his third start of the season, his third goal for the season now as well, the Curl Jr. Well, he opened the scoring, of course, Marin France. Doesn't mind a goal against St George City as well. He scored what was ultimately the sealer in the last meeting between these two sides, where Sydney FC were victorious by 3-1. The strike taking a good chunk of pace off the inside of the post on the way through. Sydney have used the opportunity, it looks like, to go to their bench and introduce a couple of changes as well. Rotate the squad and keep some fresh legs, or introduce some fresh legs even. Bring you an update on those changes as and when we can, because St George City now have an opportunity for what is admittedly a rare-sighted goal. Red shirts camped on the edge of the Sydney FC penalty area. Gultekin standing over the dead ball. It's very deep. It's all the way towards the back stick. It was dipping and swirling, but always curling out of play, that delivery from Gultekin. That's really been the tale of City's evening. Half an hour or so to go here at Penshurst Park. Sydney FC with a commanding lead. Excellent grasp on this game. It's not the only 4-0 scoreline involving an academy side this evening. Just wrapping up just down the road at Barton Park, where St George FC were in action against the Wanderers. The Wanderers have just rounded out a 4-0 victory of their own. You get the feeling Sydney FC might not be done just yet, though. Feeling very much in a party mood here as Headley looks to bear down on goal himself. Tay Headley taken off his toe at the last available opportunity by Clarkson. I said Tay Headley would love to get in on the goal scoring action. It's not just Mitch Glasson that celebrates a birthday on Monday. Tay Headley also sharing the same birthday of the 4th of May, both turning 20. Glasson already has his birthday gift. Sydney FC have another corner right on top of Franklin Jan, who gets two very good fists to it. Out over that far touchline. Hoisted in against the 6-yard box, not a clear initially, and then clearance completed by Erchan. Feeling Miko Urilj will go to his bench imminently. The game may be well and truly out of reach for City at the moment, but they want to rotate, Keep the squad as fresh as possible. Of course, they're still very much in the mix with the Australia Cup. Spoke about their impressive victory over Camden Tigers by 5-1. On Wednesday night, perhaps a bit of tiredness amongst the squad as well. They also beat the University of New South Wales as part of that run. It's one of those changes who was just introduced by Jim Van Vieren. Sam Lancaster, the Tasmanian, on at centre half. Oh, that's a cheap turnover by Jared Middleton. And now Gultekin weaving forward and striking. It took a touch off the sky blue leg on the way through, which really took all the sting out of it before it reached Zavadinos. Jim Van Vieren won't want to see those sorts of cheap turnovers and opportunities presented. Driven forward, it's a very dangerous looking channel ball. Heavy touch allowing Jackson to retrieve it. Now Foti has won it back and found himself with some green grass ahead of him to move into. Well, Sydney FC just delayed and delayed and delayed. Jesse Foti there. Well defended by Jared Middleton. Here's Farias. Sydney FC displaying some patience in possession, trying to work the angles. Little triangles forming as well as they push and probe and try and poke another hole in the City defence. City this time looking to play their way out from the back once again. They were hemmed into their own half, but no harm done. Harmlessly behind for just a goal kick. We have seen another change as well. In the meantime, Roma Jelena has been introduced. Fancy he may have come on at the interval. We didn't see the fourth officials board go up. Oh, that's a wonderful looking ball again into the penalty area. Franklin Jan in two minds there as to whether to come or whether to stay put. In the end, turn behind for a corner. Variation on the corner, this time from Sydney FC, weaving into the area once more. An emphatic clearance at the end of it from Gultekin. Try and work an alternative angle here now, Sydney. Aaron France, confident, trying to pull out the party tricks there. passing lane was blocked off by Warby, who wins the resultant throw-in. Miko Uriel will go to his bench. Oscar Gultekin, who's through a fair old amount of work, toiled hard, been involved in a couple of City's more promising moments, will be withdrawn. Frustration from City skipper Tara Gerchan. Just confirmation on that change as well. Ahmed Talib in place of Oscar Gultekin. Another one of those who scored in that midweek cup victory for City. Who had the tough task there of defending another Sydney FC raid. He's acquitted himself to the task well enough at the expense of what was initially a corner. Under some immense pressure from Marin France as well. They've ended up winning the throw-in at the end of the cycle there. My apologies, it was a Sydney FC throw, not a corner. Sydney FC have gone to their bench once again. Jim Van Wieren ringing the changes. We'll try and get you confirmation on those changes when we can. Zinedine Adiensa, one of those recently introduced for Jim Van Wieren. Marin France withdrawn. Zach Fowler also introduced. The task certainly not any easier for St George City. Good looking run centrally from Adiensa. Nearly picked out by Reef Farias, who does have such an expansive range of passing as well. Ball just held up, allowing City to clear their lines. Turned into touch once again. Final touch off St George City. Warby. Fizz at the feet of Foti. Good hold-up play from Jesse Foti. Able to bring that under his spell as well in a roundabout sort of way. Monahan Viker, who looked to go on a marauding run forward from centre half. Had his legs taken away from him. Clarkson gets things back on the move. Shalina helps it wide. No avenues afforded to them, though. what seems almost certainly like a victory now for the away side. Would propel them up to 7th in the league, having started the evening in 10th, leaving them just 3 points, I should say, outside, or 2 points in fact, outside that top 6. That 6th spot's currently occupied by Spirit FC. Some bad news for St George City, of course. We did mention atop the broadcast they enter the evening 3 points clear of bottom place Sydney Olympic. Olympic are due to play tomorrow. Of course, a victory for Olympic. So we just wait to see how this plays out. Monahan Viker, it is trying to dig it away from his goal. Taleb. Helped on to find the run of Ahmed Taleb as well. That's a glorious little flick. Didn't quite have the legs though to take him past or beyond that Sydney FC back four. A victory for Sydney Olympic against Sydney United tomorrow would lift them above St George City by virtue of goal difference. Still a long way to go in the season yet, of course. We're not even at the halfway point. But St George will be desperate to ensure that points don't escape them. Can't afford to leave it late. As we said, so impressive when they did earn promotion following their championship win in 2022 in the League One men's. Finals football in their first year in the top flight. Backed up by another finals appearance the following year. It's been tough going since then. They'll want to rectify that as quickly as possible. The Sydney FC looks to add a 5th. Not to be though. Franklin Jan happy to watch that harmlessly behind in the end. Take nothing away from the performance of this Sydney FC side, of course, this evening. Combinations and link-up as displayed there. A little back heel as well to find Jared Middleton. Sliding challenge came from Warby. They're able to ride the challenge. The ball just fizzed across the 6-yard box. No one arriving to prod us home though. It really was wonderful interplay on display there between the likes of Ethan Dyer and Jared Middleton. Here is that man again, Jared Middleton. Farias. Working the alternate angle out to the right now, Sydney FC. Bertrand will have it back for St George. Driven forward towards Taleb. Didn't have body position though. Now back with Farias. Possession just seesawing between City and Sydney FC here. It's a good looking piece of stand-up defence from Tatafu. Didn't dive in. Measured the challenge well and prevented another foray forwards. Corner taken quickly. Fizzed in towards the edge of the area. The strike will arrive. Blocked off by a sea of red bodies. It's going to come straight back at them, though. There's plenty of support on the edge of the area. Going alone in the end and drawing another save out of Franklin Jan. Jesse Forti now on the near touchline. Warby. Monahan Vaika assessing what is presented in front of him, unhappy with what he saw. Monahan Vaika again assessing those in front of him. Looks to do it himself initially and then runs out of real estate. Going to see a final change here for Sydney FC as well. Reece Farias withdrawn. He's been good at the heart of that Sydney FC defence when called upon. Tyler Williams on in his stead. Williams, it looks like, will operate more on this left-hand side. St George won it back very smartly in midfield. Taleb quite stick the pass. Luke Orsina, who won it back initially and looked for the return pass from Ahmed Taleb, was one of those changes made by City just earlier, number 34. Here he is again, Orsina. Trying to dance through a couple of challenges, able to link up with a teammate in a roundabout sort of way, but Sydney FC able to clear their lines in an emphatic way. Jared Middleton wants it on this near touchline. Lancaster instead opts to is the option presented on the right. Strength on display. Chalina. Oh, and Tatafu had a task and a half on his hands to try and keep that one in play. Tired legs, certainly, for the City centre half. And Sydney FC very keen to get things on the move quickly here. Looked in, repelled immediately. By the head of Chalina, who will now receive it. From the throw-in, no, he won't. Well, yes, he will. Indeed, he will. All the way back to Jan. Heavy first touch, inviting some pressure there. He's able to dig it out and clear his lines eventually. A towering header from Tyler Williams. Monahan Vaika. And just trying to play it into the channel there for Forti. And again, read all the way by Tyler Williams. It's Jared Middleton now. Adencia will strike again. It's a very good save from Franklin Jan. Flag is up in any case. He wasn't to know it. Well, it was indeed a save he had to make. The flag was for the player following in. Just about at full stretch there as well. It came through a sea of legs, a strike from Zinedine Adencia. Fancy you would have seen it fairly late as well, getting a look at the replay there. He's been called upon numerous times tonight, has Franklin Jan, former MacArthur Bull. Very little he could have done about many, if any, of the 4 goals that have breached him this evening. As Warby looks to work the levers again with the long throw. Hoisted in towards the head of Urchan, who cut such an imposing figure in that penalty area. Sydney FC able to deal with it, and how? Now Matthias McAllister. We all know what he's capable of. McAllister trying to burn around to Tafu, who does ever so well to hold him up. Pinch it off Sydney FC striker Matthias McAllister. Headley. Oh, what a strike that is! Again, Sydney FC running rampant. Not content with just the 4 for the evening. They've added an absolute exclamation point. Tay Headley cutting inside onto his favoured right foot, striking from all of about 20 yards. And he does have the goal that his performance has deserved. An early birthday celebration coming up for Tay Headley, as well, as we said, turns 20 on Monday alongside Mitchell Glasson. Jesse Forti spinning to try and avoid the challenge unsuccessfully. Sydney, they look to even out of 60, you know. St George able to dig it out of their own half, but not for long. Here's Jared Middleton. Back heel to try and link up with Headley. Not if Monahan Vaika has anything to do about it. Apologies, that's Ahmed Talib. Talib is dragged down in the end. Chalina, inside it goes for Urchan. Orsina. Runs out of real estate on that far touchline, Luke Orsina. Tyler Williams. The Central Avenue that time. Jared Middleton. Williams overlapping. And receiving as well. First time delivery from Williams. Cleared by Tatafu. Clearance was only as far as a Sydney FC shirt, though. Well, Sydney FC, not for the first time this evening, will go to the corner. Dominant, not just on the scoreboard, but certainly in the corner count as well. St George City have had to withstand no shortage of raid on their penalty area this evening, as the corner is swept into the area. Nodded goalwards as well. And the strike will arrive at the end of it all and flashes harmlessly wide of Franklin Yans. Left hand upright. Sydney FC's 9th corner of the evening. St George City have just had the one. Franklin Yan, perhaps unsurprisingly, showing very little interest in playing out from the back on this occasion. As we tick into the final minute of the 90 here at Penshurst. Sydney FC may look to add a sixth here. Eric Saba denying Sydney's pleas for a free kick there. Feeling the contact was incidental. Franklin Yard's going to get a bit of a hurry up from Eric Saba as well to release the ball. He duly obliges. St George are able to get their two compact lines of four back in that defensive block, but it doesn't stop the delivery out to the wide area. Swung in, met by the head of Walby initially. The back heel there from Adinsia. They're streaming forward again here, the Sky Blues, but the cross from Williams is found wanting. Behind it goes, and that will be that. Eric Saba says that'll do here at Penshurst. A five-star performance from Sydney FC. Of course, the red card to Ben Berry set the tone after just the 20th minute. And from there, it was always going to be an uphill battle for this St George City outfit. The goal to Marin France, followed up by a sumptuous strike from Joe Lacey. Left it 2-0 at half-time. They put on a further 3 in the second stanza. Mitch Glasson and Tay Headley getting in on the act ahead of their 20th birthdays. Marin France also added his second of the evening. The result sees Sydney FC just 2 points outside the top 6. And sees St George City sweating on Sydney Olympics result tomorrow to find out where they will finish up round 13. But that's a wrap from Penshurst Park. Absolute pleasure having your company here for the final match of your Saturday evening in the state's top flight. From myself, Pete Pryor, I'll see you all next time. It's bye for now.